Hey everyone, welcome back to Red Bandit Racing. As you've seen the title, this is about the Traxxas warranty. I haven't ran this Revo in weeks, and I'm going to try to explain why without putting Traxxas down. This is a hard video to explain, but I wanted to explain what happened to this car and why I'm making this video. The Revo 3.3, the break-in process went relatively smooth. A few days after the break-in process, I was still getting temperatures anywhere from 250 to 290. I would run the car for about 5 minutes and the ambient temperature was about 50-55 degrees, so it wasn't warm, it was nice and cool outside. After about 5 minutes of running, the car would reach about 230, 240 average, and then after a few minutes it would jump up to about 250, 255, and this was consistent, very consistent. It didn't matter the adjustments I made. If I ritioned it up on the high speed and leaned it out on the low end, or vice versa, didn't matter what I did, the temperature kept rising. And after around the 6th, 7th minute mark, and this can literally be timed, it would start jumping from 260 to 270 to 280, and before it hit 290, I tried to shut it off. I've done everything to cutting the windshield out, running it without the body, even took it to my local hobby shop, which they did a great job. The guys down there, they race Nitro, so they really understand how these things work. And the only conclusion they can come up with, which I totally agree, is it had to have a leak somewhere. If it had any kind of leak in the head, which allowed a lot of air in, that would explain the high temperatures and why everything I was doing wasn't helping. I explained the Traxxas, what was going on. The warranty on it was already past its 30 days. It was about 10-15 days after. They initially tried to give me some tips on what it could be. I explained the best way I could that something is definitely wrong with the motor, and they didn't seem like they wanted to take care of it. So I called A-Main, because that is where this car was purchased, and they gave me some advice. I went and ran with it, did a couple things, switched out the glow plug, switched fuels. I cleaned it, ran it, so I can find any kind of indication that there would be a leak. Usually the indication is if you see a lot of dirt buildup around the head or around the carburetor, usually there's a leak, and that's why the buildup is, collecting onto the fuel or the grease. And still couldn't find out what was going on, so I called Traxxas again, and they told me to go ahead and send the motor in, and they'll try and take care of it for me. So I thought, okay, great, they're gonna take care of it. They told me to send the motor in, so I did. And they called me about 4 days later when they received it, and they asked where the whole truck was. Well, they told me to send the motor in, so I sent the motor in. They wanted the whole truck in. I don't know about you guys, but it costs about $30 just to send the motor in. I can't tell you what it'll cost to send the whole car in. And I'm pretty sure you Traxxas guys out there know that when you send any kind of part in to Traxxas for warranty, you still have to pay the shipping. And that's one of my other problems that we'll get to. They said that they couldn't do anything with it. They couldn't find a problem with it. And there's really nothing they could do without the truck. I explained to them that I work on cars for a living. They couldn't take the motor apart to see if they can't see a leak, or maybe if the piston, was burnt up, or any signs of leakage when they pull the head off. I mean, that's the first thing I look for when I tear a motor down. And they said they couldn't do anything without the whole car, and they didn't want to do anything about it. They just wanted to send me the motor back. So I was a little bit upset about it. The conversation shifted pretty quick when they told me that the guys looked at it, and they said they couldn't find anything wrong with the adjustments on it, and they said it ran good. And I had to stop them right there, because they had just told me that they couldn't test the motor. So I'm not sure how they're testing the motor without the car, which, I mean, I know how they're testing it. They can set up on a bench and run it. Yeah, the conversation kind of shifted right there, and I feel like they were just telling me what I wanted to hear. When I told them that they just told me that they couldn't test it, there was a long pause, and it ended with them trying to send me free fuel when they send my motor back to cover the cost of the shipping I paid to send it in. I don't know, that kind of irritated me a little bit. I did call AMain and let them know what was going on. They asked to see all the information I gave Traxxas and what they found and what they said. They told me, even though you're out of that 30-day purchase, you've bought in a few cars from us before, so they had no problem taking the motor in. I asked them, you guys just gonna rebuild it or anything like that? They said no, just when you get the motor back from Traxxas, send it in. We'll send you a prepaid shipping label so you can, so you don't have to worry about it. And we're gonna send you a brand new motor. So AMain took care of the problem. They sent me a brand new motor, and no questions asked. By the time I packaged that box up and sent it in, I got an email saying that the motor was already shipped out and it was gonna be delivered the next day. So that was fast. Got the new motor in and found a new problem. I'm not familiar with Nitro. We don't own Nitro. This is our first Nitro. I sent the clutch in assembly with the old motor. So now I don't have a clutch assembly. So I called up AMain, let them know that I made a mistake, and they said no problem. Got a hold of the warranty department. They did. I didn't have to do anything. And they sent me a quick email saying that they got your old parts and they're sending it all back, so you don't have to worry about it. Which, again, another A for AMain for taking care of the problem. I couldn't be more happy with their phone support. I'm not trying to criticize Traxxas. Let's be really clear about that. We are Traxxas fans, but we are also RC fans. We love the hobby. We love the cars. If we had Arma, we would be driving Arma. There's a couple Armas that we do want to buy. My first RC car was actually a Kyosho Pro X. My second car was a Tamiya Stadium truck. It's not just Traxxas that we like. It just happens to be the cars that we drive. They're great for bashing, and that's kind of like, that's what we like to do. I'm not trying to bash Traxxas about this, but there's some things that they have to change. And I've talked to a lot of people about it. Maybe they're just not selling a lot of Nitro, so they just don't have a big department for support. But my biggest gripe has got to be the shipping. I mean, every other company will send you a shipping label. You can buy this car brand new, open it right out of the box, and let's say you find a broken shock. Because, hey, we opened up one of the rustlers and one of the eyelets, the rod ends on the front shock was shaved off, like it was just a manufacturing defect. And it happens. But you still have to send it in the Traxxas for them to replace it, and they're not going to pay for the shipping. So that's my biggest gripe. If they're going to cover a car up to 30 days, then they need to send us prepaid shipping labels. I know I'm not the only one complaining about this. So if you guys are having the same problem, voice it. Let them know. I didn't even have to ask AMain about it. They just sent me a prepaid shipping label and we were good to go. Again, this is not bashing on Traxxas. These are just things I like to see change. This doesn't make me want to buy another Nitro from Traxxas because it just creates too big of a problem. There's other Nitros out there. One of the Nitros that we wanted to buy was actually the Losi 8T. I really like the way it looks, and we have a friend. You've seen some of the videos. I mean, that's the Nitro he had, and they run really well. So when I got the parts back, I threw the clutch on, already had a brand new glow plug, but I already picked up 2 extra for the break-in. Got everything mounted. It took me about 15-20 minutes to get it mounted. Everything back on, the telemetry back on, got the exhaust. Everything looks good. Everything was tight. Put a little extra Loctite on the mounting pins. I did replace the spur gear because we did strip out the spur gear during one of the I was just hopping a curb and one of the bolts came loose for the mounting bracket, and it caused the pinion to go ahead and take some of the teeth off that spur. So this spur is actually a few teeth less. I can't remember which one it is offhand because this is a couple weeks ago, but it's going to give it a lot more low end. But we did break it in. I broke it in with Traxxas Top Fuel. I was out of town a couple weeks ago and I was bored, so I went to a couple hobby shops and actually found some Top Fuel. Where we live, there is no Top Fuel. None of the stores are carrying it. They're carrying Sidewinder, which I don't have a problem with, but with this brand new motor, I wanted to see how this was gonna go, so I decided to use top fuel. I went to break it in. I checked the high-speed needle, went all the way in, came out 4 turns, so it was right on the money out of the box. The idle screw was, perfect. It was about 1 millimeter right out of the box. The low speed was in too far. I backed that out probably less than a quarter turn to make it flush with the housing, and that's it. I put fuel in it, ran it. Temperatures were about 190. By the time I got to the 3rd tank, fattened it up on the top end a little bit. The bottom end was fine. It was really loading up, which is good because you want some smoke. You want a lot of lubricant in there. So I left it loading up. It was idling fine. By the time I got to my 5th tank, the temperatures were about 219. So much, much better. When I was first breaking this in, I was seeing temperatures around 250. I kind of just took it easy on that first break-in, and the temperatures kind of maintained 250. But this time, I was 3/4 throttle on the 5th tank, quite a bit, and temperatures were still nice and low. On this break-in, I didn't follow the Traxxas method. I did for the first couple tanks. I made sure we did some cool downs, really only quarter throttles around the parking lot. But what I didn't do is on the 4th and 5th tank, I didn't go full throttle. I've talked to a lot of different people, and they think that the method that Traxxas uses, especially on that 4th and 5th tank, is a little harsh. I'm gonna run a couple more tanks through it before I go full throttle. I can hear 2nd gear for a split second, so I know it's shifting into 2nd gear. Temperatures are nice and cool. Fires right up every single time. It runs so different. This makes me so happy again that this is running good. I was really getting frustrated with Nitro for the past 3 weeks. So I'm glad this is finally running. We can finally do some videos with it. I don't think we're gonna have any more problems. Eventually, I might do some upgrades. I do wanna put an OS carburetor, possibly even an OS engine. Those are really good engines to put in. They drop right in. They put a lot of power out, and there's minimal adjusting involved in those. So I kind of want to go that route, but they're not cheap. They're like the price of the car. That's kind of what you have to deal with though with Nitro though. I mean, either you're going to rebuild your old one once in a while, or you put a nice one in and get a little bit more fun out of it. So this has been a really rough 3 weeks with this Revo, but I think we're finally on track. Again, I don't have any problem with Traxxas. Their electric side is fantastic. We've never had a problem with them, but this last experience with their Nitro support was pretty bad. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm still bitter, very, very bitter about it. I just wanted this running. You spend a lot of money. You spend a lot of money in these cars, and you want them running right. And if they're not running right, you want the support. And there was no support. So I'm not sure if I'm going to reach out to them. If they want to reach out to me, that would be fine. I would be glad to talk to them about it. But that last time I called, all I wanted was my engine back so that I can send it to A-Main and get it fixed. So that'll do it for this video. Please leave a comment if you guys have had similar experiences. How's your Revo 3.3 running if you have one, or your T-Max, because they're very similar trucks. Do you guys have a problem with the Traxxas warranty, or do you also not like paying for shipping on things that are fully covered? Because I don't. Please leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything on this car you don't understand. I'd be glad to show you how to fix it, take it apart, anything like that. Hope you found this video informative. And if you guys have any comments, please drop them down. We'll answer any questions you guys got. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.